Okay, I only have 243 seconds. Now, I have a good story for you guys. I'm doing this video blog because it just wouldn't be as good if I typed it out. So, alright, for those of you that don't know, I drive a red BMW. Now, this story is like perfect example of how my life is. It's just a prime example. So, I'm driving my BMW now. I've already gotten 2 speeding tickets this year. So, if I get one more, I lose my license for 30 days. So, I drive like an old lady, okay? I have a limit in my car. When I go past 40, it beeps. So, I'm being wicked careful. I'm in the car with Christina and her sister, Kim. Now, we have our megaphone, and we're like acting ridiculous with it. And then, I'm like, she was being a little obnoxious, and I was like, Christina, just put it away, I don't want to get pulled over. So, as we're putting it away, I'm going, like, really slow, because I'm, like, reaching in the back seat, and I pass a cop. And then there was a stoplight, like, right after I passed her. So, it didn't look funny that I was going slow, because it was red. And she pulls up behind me, so she's sitting behind me. The light took forever to turn green. And then I take a right, and she follows me. And I'm like, why is she following me? Because I get followed like every week by a cop somewhere because they see a kid in a red BMW and they're like, oh, let me go follow him and wait for him to do something wrong. So usually I just turn down a side street and they like don't follow me there, you know, or whatever. So the blue lights start flashing. I'm like, once again, what the fuck did I do now? So the woman cop, who is a bitch, by the way, comes up to my window. She's like, license, please? And I'm like, what's the problem? And she's like, just give me your license. So I give her my license and my registration. She's like, whose car is this? And I'm like, it's mine. And she's like, who's your dad? And I told her who my dad was. And she, like, didn't understand because his name is Delphine. So she's like, who's your dad? And I'm like, Delphine. And she's like, she like, looked at me funny because she never heard a name like that before. But she's like, is this your name on the registration? And I'm like, yes. Like, you don't see my fucking license with the same name on it? So whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's my car. She's like, your registration has expired. She's like pointing at the date. And I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea. And then I thought it was going to be like, that's it. You know, like, oh, I'm sorry, I had no idea. You know, I'll renew it tomorrow. I'm going to have to tow your car. I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, I'm going to have to tow your car. You can't drive. You're not insured. I said, honey, I am not paying $2,000 a year to not be insured. I'm like, I am fully covered. And she's like, I don't know, she gave me a bunch of attitude, and she's like, I'm going to have to tow your car, and I'm like, well, I'm not paying for it to be towed, so I'm calling my dad, who my dad could just come get the car because he has a car trailer, or he could call his friend. So, whatever, to make a long story short, there was a big argument. She's like, call your dad, and then she talked to, but my dad wasn't home because he was working, so she talked to my mom on the phone, and she was trying to tell my mom that I wasn't insured, and my mom was like bitching at her because she knows very damn well that I'm insured. So whatever, they gave me all this hassle, and I was all pissed off about it, and yeah, so whatever, they had to tow my car. Yeah, basically, they towed my car. And they gave me a $100 fine because towing the car just wasn't enough. Now, my dad's friend towed the car, so I didn't have to pay anything, but, so my car was impounded overnight. And I'm just laughing now because it's so fucking ridiculous. And, whatever. So, that's my life. And how depressing it is. They towed my car. I had to renew my registration.